Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video, we're gonna once again be talking about that major upcoming winter storm for the eastern United States. Now, before I get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather-related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends, family, and social media. And I'd also highly recommend that you check out our very exciting store in the description and the pinned comment down below, and our Patreon page where we're actually releasing our preliminary snowfall forecast for this exact storm. So if you want to see our hand-drawn forecast map for this storm we're talking about today, the very preliminary one, you can check it out on our Patreon page in the description and the pinned comment down below. Anyways, for today's comment of the day, I want to know, which state do you think is going to see the most snowfall from this snowstorm? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll be picking one of those for tomorrow's video. Now let's get right into this video, and first things first, we're taking a look at that first more minor snowfall that's going to be taking place throughout the day today. In through tonight, that's going to drop maybe a few inches of snow for some select regions. I actually made a Facebook page post about that, so not to be confused with our Facebook group, but you can check out our Facebook page in the description or the pinned comment down below. That's absolutely free, and you can see our snowfall map for this specific storm. It's going to be a more minor one, and it's going to take place before our very major storm. All right, now let's take a look at Wednesday morning. So this is taking a look at a couple days from now. We're going to see that more major snowstorm beginning for some regions here. We're seeing some lighter snowfall for Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, and really this is just going to move further north. And as we can see, by that afternoon, we see moderate to heavy snowfall going on for Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Maryland, and potentially DC as well. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to move on to where this snowstorm is going to get even heavier for a lot of these similar regions. We're going to see snow begin for DC, Philadelphia, New York City, and it's even going to be moving into southern New England as well, all coming up in just a moment. All right, now, first things first, I wanted to give a shout out to all of you who joined our Facebook group yesterday. We have 3,300 members now. We only had like 2,600 members just the other day, so you guys have been absolutely joining in masses. It is like an absolute party there. It is probably the most active it has ever been. So I want to once again invite those of you who haven't joined already to join that Facebook group where we've been religiously talking about this storm. It has been a lot of fun, and I can't wait to talk about future snowstorms with you guys for all of the snowstorms we have coming up this winter. If you want to be a part of the party, go ahead and join that Facebook group. I will have it in the pinned comment and the description down below. Let's take a look at that heavier snowfall taking place now, as our low pressure center is located over the Delmarva. Now we're starting to see some even heavier snowfall for northern Virginia, including Winchester, the eastern panhandle of West Virginia there. We even see some areas of western Maryland, south central Pennsylvania seeing some very heavy snowfall. But really the moderate snowfall is very, very widespread throughout all of Pennsylvania, most of the northern two-thirds of New Jersey, Long Island there, New York City seeing some moderate snowfall. Let's take it to about, I would say, maybe 2 a.m. or so on Thursday here. And as you can see, as we get closer and further into the night, that mixing kind of comes to an end for the more southern and eastern regions. We've been dealing with some mixing issues for DC by this point, Philadelphia potentially as well, southern New Jersey. But by 2 a.m., it still is mixing for some regions, as you can see, some of those yellows, oranges, and kind of pink areas. That's where we're seeing freezing rain, sleet. But northern Virginia, south central Pennsylvania is still seeing very heavy snowfall. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to move on towards about 4 a.m., and we're actually going to see that low pressure center move offshore of the Delmarva, and that's going to bring even more snow to areas that have been seeing rain up to this point, all coming up in just a moment. I also wanted to mention I am planning on going live throughout the day today at some point because I want to talk about this upcoming snowstorm a little more in depth with you guys and be able to answer those questions, so be on the lookout for that live stream at some point during the day today, likely in the afternoon. All right, now here we are by about 4 a.m., like I said, and that low pressure center is now moving offshore of the Delmarva, offshore of New Jersey, and we're seeing more and more snowfall. So you can see the less mixing issues there for DC to Philadelphia, hardly any pinks and yellows. So we're going to see some snow at the tail end of this for more and more regions. We have an area of heavy snowfall going on from basically DC up through eastern Pennsylvania, the northern half of Delaware, most of New Jersey, Long Island, New York City, up portions of upstate New York, Connecticut, and Rhode Island by this point, seeing heavy snowfall like I said. Let's take it to about 7 a.m. here on Thursday morning. That's going to be the 17th. We're still a couple of days away. As you can see that low pressure center has moved way offshore of New Jersey now, and we see all snow basically for the United States. There is no rain on shore by this point. If so, hardly any. All of New Jersey is seeing moderate to heavy snowfall by this point. The northern half of Delaware is as well. Eastern Pennsylvania is still seeing moderate to heavy snowfall. The more it gets towards those kind of deep magenta colors, the heavier it is. So we see an area from northeastern Pennsylvania through New York, through northern New Jersey, and into Connecticut, Rhode Island, and portions of Massachusetts. And that's going to be where the bullseye sets up, is wherever that very heavy band sets up. So we're going to need to pay attention to that. Again, the Facebook group, we're going to be talking all about stuff like this, like the trends, where the heaviest snow looks to set up. This could still shift east, north, south, or west. So we're going to really need to watch this closely. That's why I haven't really released an official snowfall forecast on the YouTube channel yet, because it's very preliminary at this point. Now, by about 1 p.m. here or so on Thursday, you can see that we still have that moderate to heavy snowfall potentially going on for northern New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and then Massachusetts as well, possibly Long Island as well there. But it's basically coming to an end by this point. And then by the time we reach about maybe 7 p.m. here on Thursday, it is really coming to an end with southeastern Massachusetts getting the last of the snowfall. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to move on. We're going to take a look a little bit of the differences there on our GFS model and our Canadian model according to simulated radar. And then we're finally at the very end going to get into the modeled snowfall guidance, all coming up. Now, to start things out with our GFS model here, it looks the same as the European model here by about 7 p.m. on Wednesday. Heavy snowfall for northern Virginia. We see portions of eastern West Virginia there, also western Maryland and southern Pennsylvania. But at the very tail end, it just kind of skirts out of there. It doesn't really give as much snowfall there to southern New England, New York, Long Island, or northeastern Pennsylvania. Massive differences, massive disagreement here, according to these models. And that's another reason I'm holding off on that official snowfall forecast. Let's take a look at what that Canadian model has to say. And it looks a lot more like the European model. It does have a lot more mixing issues there for DC up through Philadelphia. As you can see, plenty of pinks and yellows. So that's going to create a lot of potential for less snowfall for those regions than originally anticipated. But you can see that very heavy area of snowfall is just to the north of Philadelphia. And it sets up basically over northern New Jersey, New York City, Long Island, areas like that. That is going to be extremely heavy snowfall if it was to occur that way, almost a purplish shade. That would be really coming down. And then it leads to very heavy snowfall also throughout areas of southern New England after the fact. This would be around 3 or 4 a.m. on Thursday. We would close out the storm with very heavy snowfall for areas like Connecticut, Rhode Island, Boston, and the surrounding regions of Massachusetts. Even southern New Hampshire and southern Vermont getting a lot of snowfall on this model. So this one is the most northern based at this point. All right, now what we're going to do here is we're going to move on, and we're finally going to take a look at that modeled snowfall guidance from all three of our major models, the European, the GFS, and then even the Canadian model. Now, first off, our European model here, as you can see, we're taking a zoomed out look real quickly so we can see the snowfall for Tennessee, Kentucky, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. Generally, a dusting to maybe 2 inches expected. The 2-inch areas are mostly those light blues. So we can see a lot of that there for Indiana and through western Ohio. There could be quite a little bit of snowfall there, and then even eastern Ohio as well. Let's take a zoomed in look now finally for our major snowstorm. And as you can see, if you're in the grays, you're basically at a dusting, if anything. In the blues, we're taking a look at about 2 to 6 inches of snow. In the purples, we're taking a look at about 6 to 9 inches of snow. And then in the pinks, we're taking a look at about 10 to maybe 15 or more inches of snow, potentially up to 20. And then kind of those blue pastel colors, that's where we're at about 20 to 30 inches of snow. And then even some pinks in there in the middle of the blues, that's where we're even picking up on some 30 inches or more amounts. Do I think this is a little bit bullish? Yes, I think this probably is a little bit too high. I think probably generally we can expect a bullseye of just above 24 inches to set up. I think 30 inches plus is a bit extreme, but definitely possible to say the least. Let's move on and take a look at that GFS model, because remember, it kind of just skirts out, and the most of the snowfall here is for Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Maryland there. Whereas New England, you really miss out on those 10 inches plus. We see generally just 2 to 6 inches of snow expected for a lot of those blues, and then maybe 6 to 8 inches of snow in those kind of purples and through the pinks. Most of the snowfall would go south of you in this scenario, but New York City and Long Island still see a foot plus according to the GFS model, so really only the New England regions would be missing out. And then finally, our Canadian model, this one is kind of looking the most bullish out of all of them. It still has that classic New York City, Boston, Eastern Pennsylvania, Connecticut, seeing 24 inches plus throughout all of these regions. It does have a very heavy purple band in there that brings up to 41 inches of snow. Again, I do think this is quite bullish. Now, as a bonus, I'm going to show you guys our NAM model, which disagrees completely with all of them. Keep in mind, when the NAM disagrees with all of the other models, that's not a very good sign that the NAM will be accurate. But I wanted to show you that there is some different scenarios being thrown out there by some of our more minor models that we need to pay attention to. We could see a western trend with our more major models that brings them further west as well, in which case the NAM model would be correct. We really need to wait and see, and that's why it's important to be a part of communities like Weather Freaks on our Facebook group, where we can keep those more constant updates, so I highly recommend that to you, of course. Now, for today's comment of the day, I asked you guys which of these cities will get the most snowfall from this snowstorm: DC, Philadelphia, New York City, or Boston. And Keith Chief said, I think New York City will get hit the worst, or the areas just north of the city. And I agree. I think out of those four, at this point, it seems like New York City will likely get the most out of all four. Anyway, for today's patron highlight of the day, I want to thank you all for supporting the channel, but especially our platinum patrons: Sebastian Tao, John Benbenick, Justin Quantrell, James Wade, Dovey Nagel, Alan Balemo, Adam S., Larry Lepan, Donna Carnes, Cameron Marshall, and Aiden Mattis, alongside our diamond patrons: Bill Roberts, Alan Sherry, Marcus Connolly, Noah Harley, Michael Codalessa, Michael Buell, Terry Curtis, Catbite, Charles Stinnett, Kellen Manhart, It's Jay, Cindy Klein, Alicia Davis, and Mark J. If you would like to be on this Patreon end screen, you can do so by joining our Patreon in the description and the pinned comment down below. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share it with your friends, family, and social media. I will see you guys in the next video.